Welcome to the Money Over 50 podcast, brought to you by Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue from Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. This information is general in nature and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Therefore, you should consider whether the information is appropriate for you and your personal circumstances. If you require personal advice, please contact Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. Here are your hosts, Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue.
Welcome to Money Over 50 with Dallas and Michael. Why you should set up your own business in semi-retirement. Dallas.
Thanks, Michael. This is probably going to be a podcast that's of interest to some people and not others. So it's going to be a three-part series. So if you don't find any of it interesting, unfortunately, there's going to be three podcasts that you're just going to have to skip and not listen to. But what I want to talk about firstly is why you should set up your own business, why you should think seriously about setting up your own business in semi-retirement. Now, the reason I've said semi-retirement is because if I say set up your own business in retirement, you get the peanut gallery saying, well, it's not retirement if you're running your own business and all the rest of it. But what I'm talking about here is most people who have worked as an employee from 20 years old through to 60, and they're now at a point where they want to either cut back from work or what we see a lot of is people don't necessarily want to stop work entirely, but they only want to do certain types of things that they actually really are passionate about or enjoy, or that where they think they can use their experience and their knowledge in the most sort of leveraged way. So what got me thinking about this with retirement is that semi-retirement or leading up to retirement is probably a bit of a similar time to maternity leave. And what I mean by that is, so Nicoles, my wife, is our firstborn is just about to turn 2 years old, and so when she went on maternity leave, which was just a month before he was born, soon after he was born, she set up her own business, Davison Law, which is she's a personal injury lawyer, so she only does workplace injuries, medical negligence, that type of work. So if anyone out there has had a slip and fall, feel free to Google her, give her a call. Now, she had that time that she didn't really intend to go back to work full time then anyway. So it was a good opportunity for her to basically dip a toe in and set up the business, get everything all running in the background. And as she ramped back up her workload, as Winston started to go on daycare a couple of days a week and that kind of thing, she was sort of set up then to run her own business, take on her own clients and do that sort of on its own, compared to if she had been working full time and if she'd just had a complete stop and stop that and set up her own business. There's a really big drag where you sort of have a couple of years, and as you would know, Michael, setting up your own business, that you go from earning a really good income to stopping to nothing, and it takes a while to pick back up. And what it got me thinking about the comparison with maternity leave with semi-retirement is most people in that sort of last couple of years of when you intended to work, or in the first couple of years of when you wanted to be retired, they're still wanting to do something, but it's normally just that there's not the same reliance on that regular income. It's really a thing that I think setting up your own small business is going to be useful or relevant for a lot of people in those last couple of years of work, particularly for couples. And this is one that you've got a couple of case studies that we can go through, but where we've seen this work is that if you've got a couple and one of them is still really enjoying their work, really enjoying what they're doing, and is sort of earning enough for them to live on, the other member of the couple can sort of can step into setting up their own business, doing their own thing without that real pressure of needing that income week to week. And so I guess the reason why I think more people should think about setting up their own business in semi-retirement is a few different ones. The first one is that, which I love this phrase more than anything, is Coase's theory of the firm. And what this means is that it's not just a good racehorse name, is that there's never been a time in history when it's been cheaper to set up your own business. So Coase's theory of the firm is that people organise into bigger businesses and work for companies because the transaction costs of doing work for someone and getting paid to do that work and setting up the contracts and, doing all those sorts of things. In days gone by, that was a big cost. It was a lot of time and energy spent in that. Now, with...
you're also on a mainframe computer.
That's exactly right. You had to have someone there
that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars from IBM.
Yep.
You had someone answering the phone. You had to have someone answering the phones.
Exactly.
There was all those things.
Yep.
Even beyond that, when the personal computer came in,
yep.
like even software, purpose-built software was
really
very expensive.
Yep.
All of those things have never been cheaper.
Yep. And that's I think the thing. That's I guess why now. It's like why is this more possible for a lot more people than it ever has been? Is that to go back to Nicoles' example of, for her to set up her own business, it was set up the company, put a bit of money in the bank account, buy a laptop computer for $1,500, set up the software, which was it just paid on a monthly subscription basis. Which all these things that, like you said, Michael, 20 years ago, that would have been hundreds of thousands of dollars. You would have had to set up an office. You would have had to employ someone to work on reception. You would have had to spend a huge amount on computers. You would have had to spend a huge outlay on your software and all the rest of it. It would have been all these time costs that would have been sucked up in things that now technology has removed a lot of that friction. And that's Coase's theory of the firm, which I love that phrase, is that the friction costs of setting up your own business have gone down dramatically, and because of that, it's actually more feasible for a lot more smaller businesses that you don't need to turn over $3 million a year in order to have it worthwhile to run your own business. So that's kind of why it's more relevant for a lot more people. Yeah,
and just to be clear, who this suits is, correct me if I'm wrong here, Dallas.
Well, we're going to do a completely separate podcast about who that suits.
I think just to set it out though, just to set what you're not we are not suggesting
everyone should set
you retire and then you set up a coffee shop.
No.
Or a restaurant or anything like that. That's labour intensive. Or overheads intensive.
Yeah.
What you're
talking about here,
generally talking about, is knowledge workers that are experts in their own field.
That's a great point.
That there's a low setup cost to actually to going into business on their own.
That's a great point. What I actually thought about calling this, rather than saying why you should set up your own business, is why you should be self-employed, because that's more what I'm talking about here. It's not someone who's been an engineer for 40 years going and buying a restaurant. That is an absolute recipe for disaster, if you pardon the pun there about opening a restaurant. But we've seen that a heap of times, and it just doesn't work. You spend 40 years of your life building up this knowledge, building up this experience, and knowing how to do this specialised niche thing that you do better than 99.9% of the population. And for some reason, people go, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to go and run a coffee shop, which I've never worked in all my life, just because I like the idea of it. That's a great point. I'm not talking about any of that. What I'm more talking about here is basically self-employment. We call it running your own business, but really I would say it's really more around doing what you do now, but potentially doing that working for yourself rather than working for someone else.
Yeah. So this particular first part of the 3-part series is on the why, or is it
the why.
So let's continue with the why.
Yeah.
Why should you set up your own business in semi-retirement?
So the parts here are the whys are that if you look at the risk reward of setting up your own business, is that the risk used to be much higher. It used to cost you a lot more in those outlays, and that's kind of what we talk about, those friction costs. So the risk has now gone down by a lot. You can set up your own small business. You can go out on your own to do what you're doing now. You can set up your own consultancy firm or whatever you're currently doing for really not much money at all. And we'll talk separately about how to do that in a way that is low risk. But the rewards of that are just as high as ever. So the risk has gone way down. The reward has stayed just as high. Most people are. Most occupations, they're earning just as much. Lawyers are still charging the same amount per hour. Engineering consultants are charging the same amount per hour. Financial planners are, all those sorts of things. So that's, I'd say, the first point as to why you should do it in semi-retirement. There's a couple of reasons there. Is that, number one, most people don't want to stop work completely. That you, like I said, you spent 40 years of your life building up this knowledge base. Most people really still feel like they've got something to offer in the workplace. They just don't want to deal with all the crap that comes with working for someone a lot of the time.
Look, absolutely. And the notion of being black and white, so, it has been black and white in the past. So you worked full time right up until your 65th birthday.
Yep.
And then you are now full-time retired for the rest of your life.
Yep.
That's become more grey. So that was black and white. It is becoming more grey and it's because of these things. It's because of people opening businesses or they're doing consulting work or they're reducing their hours.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. Most people do want to be able to continue work in some facet because they feel that enjoyment or reward. There's people that don't, of course.
Yep.
But a lot of people do. Yep. I think what a lot of people want to be able to do is to be able to pick up that work and put it down and go on to go and travel and do the typical things that you do in retirement.
And that's the second part of that is that, like we've said, most people would like to work part-time. The reality is when you work as an employee for someone, it's very hard to find the right type of role that allows you to only work the amount of hours per week that you want, to be able to put that work down and pick it up, to pick and choose exactly what type of work you want to do. There are some employers, and I do think that across the board, most employers are getting much more flexible with that kind of thing. But there's a lot of places where people still work where that's just not an option that's available to them. They can't just decide, I only want to do this type of work, and I either want to do it for 10 hours a week or I want to do it for 40 hours a week for 3 months of the year, and then I want to go on and not do anything for 9 months. So if you're always reliant on being a part-time, being an employee of someone, whether that's full-time and then moving to part-time, you're still reliant. There's another link in the chain there where not only do you have to find a customer who's willing to pay for your expertise or for what you do, you've also got to find an employer who's willing to act as the middleman to go, yes, you can come and work 20 hours this week because you're at home and you're a bit bored, but next week when you want to go fishing with your mate for a week, no, you don't want to do any work at all. I think most employers are getting more flexible, but it is still very tricky to find the exact right role for someone in semi-retirement where, as you just said, they want to be able to pick that work up, put it back down and be in control of their own schedule. So that's a big reason why, is like I say, the risk or the cost or the friction of setting up your own business has gone down and the reward has gone up because there is that work out there, but it's generally not available in a lot of cases as a part-time employee. It's just not the same level of flexibility as what you probably want or what you need. The other one that I see a lot, going back to that risk-reward model, is that for a lot of people that go, well, I'm going to work full-time and then I want to work part-time, they often, not through choice, but there's certain everyone wants to go and work at Bunnings. And the reason they want to go work at Bunnings is because Bunnings is a really good employer for that part-time, casual type stuff. They have a lot of semi-retirees working for them. But what you find is that if you go and look for someone to work for that is really flexible and does all that, a lot of the time it's not necessarily the field that you're an expert in. It's not, you have someone who's been an engineer for 40 years and they go and work at Bunnings and they're giving general sort of handyman advice or, helping someone find something in the shelves. They're not really leveraging all that time and all that energy that they've spent their life developing. So because of that, of course, Bunnings just can't pay them the same amount per hour as what they're probably worth. It's just not how things work. So in a lot of cases, I think you almost have to start your own business to be able to do the work that you're uniquely qualified for, that you're uniquely capable of, in order to get paid the amount for your time of what you can really do.
Yeah. And what about the financial reasons?
So the other why, again, the reward here is that one of the advantages is that generally you can, when you're running your own business, you are able to earn more per hour of work. Leaving aside the friction costs of what it costs to set up your own business and what it costs to run that business, on a per hour basis, if you are working for yourself and you're working directly with a customer, you're going to be getting paid much more per hour to do that. And that's just the facts. So that's one part of the reward there, is that you're getting paid more per hour. The downside is that your work is probably less guaranteed. But again, the reason why this works so well in semi-retirement is that you probably don't care as much. Whether you get 10 hours worth of work this week or 20 hours worth of work this week, you're probably not that fussed. You already got yourself in a position where most of your needs are being taken care of from your retirement savings. So it's really, you can be a bit flexible around exactly how much work you do. You can do less work and charge more per hour for that work and still be happy with the outcome. So that's one part of the financial aspect, is that you basically, it's the dream for a lot of people. If you basically work less, only do the work that you want to do, and get paid more per hour to do it. That's what most people really want in semi-retirement. Now, separate to that, and we'll talk a bit more about this in the hows of how to set this up, but in those last years of your life, what you can actually do is you can also minimise tax much more effectively when you're self-employed or when you've got your own business. You can normally run your business through an entity that you can treat as its own thing. You can earn income through there. You can sort of retain your earnings within there and only pay it out gradually over time. You can basically use your small business that you set up as another form of retirement savings. So you can use it as a vehicle to build up money over that last few years of your working life, and then draw out of that over the early years of your retirement. So that's again just another financial reward there.
Yeah, and that's it. And for a lot of the businesses that you're talking about, that would be suitable.
Yep.
One thing to be careful of is the personal services income.
Yep.
So if you're an engineer, for example, and you set up your own consulting business, but you only consult to your former employer or only at one other engineering company, then you'd be likely to be caught up in what they call personal services income, which means that income, regardless of what entity you set up, would flow through to you personally.
That's right.
For that particular year. So, in the situation you're talking about for Nicoles, she has more than five clients. In any given year. A client of mine that we've talked about before, Kathy, who's set up her own orofacial myology business. So, Kathy, please forgive me if I get anything wrong here, but we'll talk more about Kathy's business because she's an expert in her own field as a dental hygienist. She's segued into this business. She's super passionate about it. So she, and that shines through. My daughter Margot is a client of hers because so I've got to take her.
Kathy at work,
so Kathy's really passionate about working with younger children. At the developmental stage in terms of how they're actually.
So you've talked. I think you've actually interviewed Kathy for the podcast before.
We have, I'm just trying to think.
Do you want to just go through as a quick case study of this is a really good example of why some people do set up a small business in semi-retirement and how it can work really well. So what brought that on? What brought that shift on for her?
I would say, again, not wanting to put words in Kathy's mouth, but she was really passionate about that side of things, and working as a dental hygienist, was really showcasing like a small fraction of her skills now. Like she's been in the dental field for virtually the whole of her life. She's become really passionate about orofacial myology now. Again, I'm forgive me, Kathy, because I'm not going to do it any justice. But to give an example, my daughter Margot, she's 3, and we were just hearing her grinding her teeth during sleep. So I actually happened to mention to Kathy, this is what's happening, and we brought her because this is exactly the type of person that Kathy works with, is children in the developmental stage, and she worked out that her, amongst other things, her mouth and her tongue and her jaw aren't strong enough. When you're sleeping, the natural resting state of a jaw that's not strong enough is to sit back, and it's actually can cut off your airways. So the grinding of the teeth is the body telling you to get your lower jaw forward. So we we meet with Kathy on a regular basis, and she was able to diagnose that. She's able to set treatment for Margot, and we do exercises on a daily basis. All those things. So that's where Kathy's passion lies. Now it's a related field, but it's completely separate to what she would normally be doing in dental. Dental hygiene. So
so it's a great example, I think, to me, of something where, like you said, she's been working in that field for all of her life. Like she is an expert in that field, in that whole dental field. It would have been crazy to go, okay, well, Kathy now if she wants to cut back on work hours, she should go and work at Bunnings. It's just a complete waste. She's got all that knowledge. She's got years of experience. She's obviously great at what she does. She's obviously got that special little niche area that she really wants to focus on. Now, the beauty of it is for her, and this is, I guess, coming back to the why here, is that Kathy doesn't have to try and find 500 clients every year to run some big organisation and keep on 5 staff members and pay wages and do all that. What she can do is just set up her own little thing, do her own thing in that really niche area. If she finds whether she works, I don't know their financial situation, but I'm guessing that over time she can dial up or down how much she wants to work.
It's quite interesting. So you mentioned before you should set this up before you actually retire, and I think that makes perfect sense because you spin your wheels for a while.
Yeah.
When you set up a new business.
Yeah.
And so what Kathy did was she cut down from 5 days a week, working as an employed dental hygienist to 4, then to 3 days.
Yep.
And and right now it's 2 days. So 2 days employed as a dental hygienist, and the rest of the time, she's been developing her business.
Yep.
It takes you a while to charge the right amount.
Yes.
So it takes you a while to work out who you want to work with.
Yes.
It takes what your real value add is.
Yep.
So all of that can be getting done.
Yep.
While before traditional retirement age.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
So that
state is really,
you hit traditional retirement age, and you then have your business income. She's going to resign from the 2 days a week that she does as an employee, and then you've got your business at that point in time. So you've got an existing client base. You've got you've ironed out a lot of the kinks. You've done all those types of things. From a financial point of view, we've just looked and we haven't shot for the stars here. We've just done this really conservatively.
Yeah.
If the business could bring in $30,000 a year, after traditional retirement age, that's going to make a big difference in terms of a lifestyle. It takes the pressure off retirement savings immensely because you're drawing $30,000 less than you would normally be drawing out of your retirement savings in those early years of your retirement. We know about the compounding effect of that. It's got to be something that you can pick up and put down. So Kathy's daughter is married to an American fellow. So they travel quite extensively. Kathy and David travel quite extensively, and plan to ramp that travel up in retirement to be able to. They've got grandkids over there in America now, so they plan to travel quite a lot now.
They want to be.
We've had some of the discussions around that, and I'm not a business consultant by any stretch of the imagination, but I've just shared with Kathy, what I think in terms of what I think she needs to do to set it up where you can pick up work and put down work. You can schedule periods of time where you're not physically able to do that work. And it's amazing because she's already come up with a way to do Zoom meetings with people when she's away. And to be honest, so we'd be getting just as much value out of the Zoom meeting because I know what these meetings are like. It's where what we get value out of is the formal process of actually meeting with her,
having that same sort of thing,
and because there's daily exercises. Now I know if I've got to meet with myself and Margot, meeting with Kathy in a week's time, we make sure that we do all of our daily exercises. So it doesn't matter if she's Skyping me or Zooming me from Phoenix, Arizona to Townsville. Like, it's the formal process of actually doing that.
And that's, I think, a big thing as well in how maybe consumer attitudes have changed. And that's why now is really the time for people to do that, is that there are a lot of people who are, people are less concerned about, do you have a big flash office somewhere, or do you have a staff of 20, or people just want to know that you're the expert at what you do and that they're going to get a result from working with you. And so I think that's another part of it, is obviously coronavirus helped with all this, is that for a lot of people, you do have the ability to work for yourself, work from home, work remotely while you're traveling, and still be able to add a lot of value to people's lives and get paid really well to do it. And so that's why, I guess that's the whole point of this podcast is the why of all this, is that for a lot of people, it really makes sense, both from an emotional point of view, is that you get to ease back from work, but still really get that same enjoyment out of doing the type of work that you're really passionate about and that you're really good at, like Kathy obviously is and does. Financially, it makes a huge difference, as we've just said, in those early years of retirement, which is when often people want to be doing much more travel, potentially spending more, doing all those sorts of things. It's just a way that you can dial that up, dial that down. Again, financially, if you've got the ability to dial that up and dial it down, it can make a big difference, even if you aren't quite where you wanted to be in order to fully retire. If you've got something set up that you're in control of your income to some degree, and you can ramp that up or ramp it down as your needs adjust. They're all great positions to end up in, like you say, and we'll talk a bit more about the hows of how to set this up and how to. Like you said, we're not business consultants, but it's just something that we've seen a few of these, and we know what's worked well for people. Is that it's I think the point I wanted to make from this is that it's probably more relevant for a lot more people. It's more something that a lot more people should think seriously about as an option that's available to them, rather than the traditional model of, like we said, either work full time and then completely stop and fully retire, or work full time, stop, go and work part time in a role that you're not specialised in, or that you're not an expert in that field. So, as I said, we'll go into in the next couple of podcasts here talking more about who this type of strategy, who it is probably more suitable for and not as suitable for, and then also the actual logistics of how to do it and how to do it in the most effective way.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Money Over 50 podcast with Money Over 50 financial advisors. We look forward to catching up again soon.